We are in a hot real estate market right now, but what goes up must come down. And if you're looking to get in the REO game as a real estate agent or broker, then this video is for you. My business partner, Pat Hayes, is going to interview Robert Weichelt, and he is one of the top 1% of REO agents in the entire United States. He sold over 3,500 homes, and now he trains real estate agents how to get in the REO game. So once again, if you're really looking to get in the REO game, follow his step-by-step process of getting in with asset managers so you can position yourself in your market to dominate the REO game. So if you're getting a lot of value out of this video, be sure to hit that like button, share this with some other agents that may be on your team. If you have any comments or questions, drop them in the comments below. Hope you enjoy the interview.
All right, guys. Well, hey, let's talk a little bit about REO. So I want to kind of share this. Whenever I first met this gentleman, man, he has a ton of energy. I think sometimes he's got more energy than me, and I just love being around people with high energy. And we've done a lot of fun things together. We've done some happy hours together. We've done some events together, some classes together out in San Diego, out in California, also out in Arizona with Bob Mangold. And he brings a wealth of knowledge. But let me just kind of introduce him real quick. So he started his real estate career 10 years, or whenever he was 10 years old, seriously, working in his REO broker's mother's office in San Diego, delivering the listing books in the good old days before the MLS. Since 1986, Robert has served in virtually every capacity of real estate and mortgage as a title executive, mortgage banker, and a real estate broker. Robert joined eXp Realty in March of 2019. Best move ever. And he goes, how about that stock? So, hey, without further ado, I want to give my good friend a shout out, Robert Weichelt. So welcome to the call, my friend. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing awesome, Pat. Thanks for having me on. I'm sitting here thinking while you're talking about that group you're bringing on that basically 8 months went by. Did you sit down and calculate how much that was missed in that 8 months?
I wouldn't even want to know.
No. Well, you know what? Thanks for having me on. I tell you, these Friday morning calls are super huge. It's 7 o'clock here in San Diego, and I don't miss these calls. These are so important. So if you have team and rev share group, if you have any of your team members that are not on this call, get them on this call, because Pat, thank you so much for what you do.
Absolutely.
What's funny is you introduced me as Weichelt. Everybody calls me Weichelt because of you guys on the East Coast have what's called Weichelt Realtors. And we were the #1 Weichelt franchise in the country for about 5 years until we sold to Coldwell Banker. And what's funny is when we were in the foreclosure market the last time around, the early 2000s, we had 1,000 active signs out there in the field, literally active listings during the REO days. So Weichelt was looking to make a move out into the West Coast. They saw my brother's sign that said Eric Weichelt right in the window, and their rep that was looking to build franchises on the West Coast pulled over, and the rest was history. So we ended up being a Weichelt franchise, and my name is Weichelt. So people always do that, and they say, "Hey, are you Weichelt?" I said, "Yeah." Yeah. That's us. And what's funny is you bring up how I started when I was 10, and I love telling this story because my mother's an REO broker since the 80s, the SNLs, the repo days. But I first cut my teeth going to her office as she was an REO broker and still is. And I'd go there because my babysitter couldn't take me. I was too out of control. So she'd take me to my mom's office, and she'd say, I can't take him. I'll take the other two, but I can't take Bobby. He's a mess. So I would be at my mom's office, and I would be delivering the termite reports and the MLS book before the MLS. So that's how I cut my teeth in the business. Fast forward to the 90s, when the SNL thing went on, corporate, foreclosures. It was a different type of foreclosure market in the early 90s. And what we had was, I call the glue stick era. If any of you agents were around in the 90s in the REO market doing the BPOs, it was we'd run out, take the photos of the property, run to the photo mat, get the 1 hour developed photos, come back, get our glue stick out, glue stick the photos on the legal size paper. And then we'd have these BPOs that are like 10 inches thick, and we'd haul ass down to FedEx and get our BPO in. And we're like waiting for the answer from the bank. Well, of course, fast forward to the 2000s, technology introduced itself. We started getting electronic notifications that here's a new foreclosure. But how it starts is the BPO market is what gives you the indication that the REO market's coming. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about if you want to get positioned in the REO business, you know, kind of like that Keller Williams agent that didn't quite take advantage of EXP back 8 months ago. He lost out a lot of opportunity, but there's still a chance to get involved. So what you do is get your resume dialed in first. We're going to go into that and start doing the BPOs, the broker price opinions, because a lot of agents go, well, I don't want to do the BPOs. I just want the REOs. There's a process and a system that you need to follow, and I'm going to walk you through that today. So thanks again for having me on. I'm going to share a screen, and I'm going to see if this works out well. Let's see. Give me 1 second.
Yep. All right, guys, listen up. Take notes. Take pictures of the screen. This is being recorded. This is going to be a wealth of information in a short amount of time. So, Robert, take it away, my friend.
Let's see. Which screen do we see here? Let me get rid of this garbage. Let's see. Let's get rid of that. Let's go here.
I see it.
Let's go to the screen. You see screen 2. There it is.
There it is. Yep.
Boom. All right. Let's see. So do you see screen 2? Okay. Everything good?
Perfect.
All right. So basically what I wanted to go over today is just a little bit about who I am, but that doesn't really matter. But I want to tell you what I come from so you can kind of see where we're going. I'll be celebrating 35 years in the real estate business this February 14th. And it's an amazing, I look back and I go, man, I got to quit growing this beard because it's making me look even older. But I was approved with 44 banks back in the 2000s. In October of 2005, the mortgage market melted down, as a lot of you know. And then June of 2006, I literally had 40 assignments on my desk. Like, here you go. Here's 40 new properties. Go check occupancy. It's like, oh my God, what do you do? So it kind of comes in like that. So I was approved with over 44 banks, and I'm going to talk about why that's important in a minute. I scored in the 1% with Freddie Mac. Scoring with the banks is key. The BPO is how you score with the bank, and that's how you get the REO assignments. We're going to talk about that. I had REO and short sale branches in 6 states. I was flying all over the country, training for REO Mac and 5-star, and I closed myself 3,500 REO transactions during that time. And of course, you all know I'm a proud member of the EXP family. I started in March of 19. That's when I first met Pat, and that was some good times.
Yes, it was.
Can you see it okay? How's the sound? Check. We're good?
Sound great.
Okay, fantastic. So let's go. I'm going to change. Let's get it off of me. So really today's agenda that I wanted to kind of go over, Pat, and when we're talking about REO, a lot of people say, oh yeah, REO's not here. It's not here. It's not here. Oh man, REO's here. That's typically how it works. In the 90s, it was a different reason why it was here. In the 2000s, it was a lot of the pay option arms, a lot of people pulling out money, a lot of equity taken out to go buy the Hummers and the trips and those types of things. This market also will be different. People have a ton of equity, but we have a thing called forbearance. We have a thing called shutdowns. We have a lot of other dynamic things going on because in January of 2020, there was over 60,000 foreclosures done just in January. And that was pre-pandemic, pre-shutdown, pre-all this chaos. So it was already starting to rear its ugly head on that way. And let me just be very clear. I do not want foreclosures at all. So just so we're clear, but it's one of those things that's kind of the circle of life. It happens. I don't want probate. I don't want divorce. I don't want people dying, but it is what it is. My point is the REO market, if you position yourself properly, you can have an amazing stream of business because the corporate sellers need great representation as well. Does that make sense? So you need to get positioned before the REO market gets here. You don't just all of a sudden start seeing a lot of foreclosures, then jump on that train. That train's left the station by that point. We're going to talk about 6 successful REO steps to take, and we're going to show you how to get yourself positioned. So with that said, does opportunity still exist? Yes, it does. REO servicers are still calling us right now, and they're calling us for a lot of Midwest. Hey, do you have somebody here in, in Ohio? Do you have somebody here in St. Louis? So they're always calling us, and it's a great agent attraction tool, by the way, guys. Once you get into the REO business, start building those relationships with the asset managers, then you can be that resource for your asset manager and go out and find those top agents across the country to bring them to your rev share business. Assignments still do exist. It's a very, very, very small percentage, but they still exist. So is it going to come in a tsunami or a constant set of waves? That's the only thing. I personally think we're going to get hit. Then it's going to be a nice even set of waves, because it's the government regulation, Dodd-Frank, and all those things that have been put in place are going to eliminate a lot of that, but we're still going to have a good amount of foreclosures. So if you want to get involved in it, here are some of the steps you need to take. Number one, you need to get your REO resume together. Most agents, all we have is a bio. We really don't have a resume. That's not something we give our resume to our listing, to our seller. Hey, here's my resume, and you're waiting for the position. So we need to get your REO resume together. Then you need to register with the banks and start accepting BPOs, because they're not going to go find you. They're not going to drive down the street, see your bus bench. They're not going to all of a sudden find, get your postcard. They're not going to find you. You need to find them. So then you need to sign up for the REO and BPO portals. Here's a couple of tips: Equator and ResNet. Those are the two big ones. You need to make sure you have a profile on both Equator and ResNet. And that means for REO, BPO, and short sale, because there will be short sales coming down the pipe as well. And I don't know how many of you on the call went through the REO short sale last time. Once you've submitted your resume, once you've filled out your resume and filled out the portals and they know that you exist, you'll start getting BPO requests. I do sometimes 5 in a day, sometimes 5 in a week. But you can kind of gauge the market based on the BPOs that are coming down the pipe. And I'm seeing those increase every single day. So get your name into the bank, start doing the BPOs, do a great BPO. And you need to leverage that BPO to get the REO. One thing you need to be clear on is there's a lot of different BPO opportunities. You need to find out which ones are going to lead to the REO listing. Like, you could do a bunch of CMAs for all your neighbors, but if they're not going to sell, that becomes a time zap and really not cost effective. You're going to understand, once you do get the REO, the cradle to grave, all the moving parts. I mean, it's a lot of stuff for an REO transaction. You're going to need to understand cash for keys. That's basically relocation assistance. We'll go into that. And we're going to talk about property preservation. You need to understand, you need to have a good list of vendors, contractors, rekey, gardeners. I mean, the whole gamut of all the property preservation. You're going to need to know accounting. You're going to need to have the, like somebody said earlier, there was 50 offers or whatever it was. That's insane. But that happens in the REO business as well. And you're definitely need to have a transaction coordinator. So let me go over some of the different things, some of the challenges that a REO agent has. Number one, the banks, they're not in your area. Now, there's a lot in Texas where you can drive right over to get some of those REOs, Pat, but a lot of them they're out of area institutional sellers. The banks are always changing their guidelines. So what you used to do last week is different this week. Getting the business is probably the hardest thing. Is find, how do you get a hold of the banks? I have a list of REO and BPO companies I'd be more than happy to share with you. Financial resources. Here's where the rev share comes in, and why we have a leg up as agents with EXP is we have rev share.
Did Robert's connection just freeze up?
Let's see. I think
Expenses.
Oh, there you are. Okay, yeah.
The REO business.
There you go. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're back. I think you froze up for just a quick second.
Oh, I did?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool. We're talking about the financial wherewithal. EXP and our rev share is a perfect tool to use so you're not tapping into your own personal income. Does that make sense? And then we're going to talk about standing out to get noticed, because you're basically, it's like that when you're in 6th grade, you're on the kickball team, you're kind of wanting to get picked, you don't want to get picked last. And we're going to know what the banks score on. So let's do this. The special skills that you need to know how to evaluate property. You need to know how to do a CMA. I mean, that's real estate 101. You need to know how to run comps, listed comps, sale comps. You got to know how to approach a property that lets them know there's nothing worse than approaching a property that's been foreclosed on. You get the wife, she answers the door, and that's the first time she's hearing that her payments weren't being made, and it's a bad deal. So you got to know how to approach that. You got to manage the different properties and all the moving parts, the listing, the marketing, and the selling. Here's some REO farming sites. If you want to get involved, you can go to a couple of these places to start getting your farming, your REO farming going, if you will. Foreclosure.com. And I can share this slide deck with anyone if wants. I don't care. Realty Track is great. Rick Sharg is phenomenal. He's back. Lane Guide and your title company. Find out from your title company on who's, what's going on. What's the foreclosure activity in your market? The NODs, the NOTs, all that. And then, of course, here's the portals that we talked about. We've got ResNet, Equator, REO Network's a great one. And these are all free to go ahead and just sign up, get a profile with these. REO Connection. And of course, I have Superstar REO. I'm the founder of Superstar REO. Here are some of the resources and associations. Taza REO allows you to basically manage your transaction from start to finish. All the tasks that you're going to need to handle for the bank, from weekly inspections, weekly updates, monthly updates, updating your BPO, making sure that you go to that property every single week to make sure the doors and windows are closed, that's locked, because agents have a tendency to go to the home, open the doors and windows, and leave the house and take the key. And oh my God, just like in real estate, right? So you need Taza REO. REO Insider is a huge source. So go to REO Insider. But the two most important things, if you don't write down anything today, write down these two things. DS News, and they're in Texas. DS News, Default Services, they're the #1 source for default, REO, foreclosure, real estate news. So if you go to dsnews.com, sign up for their daily dose. It'll tell you exactly what the latest and greatest is in the default industry. Super, super, super amazing information there. And you can start, I have a Superstar REO on my Facebook. You can go to see all the different blogs and all the different news. REOMAC is the granddaddy of them all. This is where the bank asset managers and bank industry folks go to get trained. And anytime you have asset managers, what do you have right behind them? A bunch of agents wanting to get in there and talk to them, right? So REOMAC, if you've not gone to REOMAC before, REOMAC is amazing. They've got great webinars. Of course, they don't have live events right now, but they have great webinars and training on the default industry. So DS News and REOMAC, those are the most important things. Let's talk about your resume. Your resume is a marketing tool. Now, there's some agents that don't have a lot of experience that are on this call. What you do is you blend it with the Pat Hayeses of the world. You blend it with like Larry White. You blend it with the Jeff Russells. You blend it with the REO agents in your rev share, in your team. Find out who those agents are and blend your information with them. Does that make sense? And I'll be more than happy to send you, I call it my REO goodies, the resume, the banks, all the stuff you need, our updated E&O insurance, all of that stuff. Anyone that wants to reach out to me, I'll send it to you.
Awesome.
So here's kind of some of the resume essentials, if you will. Take your gross sales volume from the first day in your business. 35 years, I get to go back and basically put all of that production on my resume. Now, was it all REO transactions? No, not all of them. But some of us have represented a short sale, whether it be a listing or a sale. Some of us have been a buyer agent on an REO. Is that REO experience? You bet it is. Put it on your resume. What REO experience, training, and certifications? You have Equator has great certification courses. We have just brought somebody on named Dawn. She runs our special REO and Relo. You definitely need to reach out to her. We're putting together some amazing training. So what kind of training and certifications do you have? Put it on your resume. What's your REO marketing plan? How are you going to sell that distressed property? Do you understand what a 203K loan is? Do you understand that having, understanding the city and the code ordinances in your town? Because if you have a foreclosure in Chula Vista, San Diego, for instance, and the grass is dead, the seller of record can get fined a per diem, and that could add up a lot of money. So you need to know what's going on in your market. You need to have REO services, rekey, trash, initial clean, yard repairs. Put that on your resume. And the biggest thing is your zip codes. What zip codes are you the expert? You're the eyes and ears for the bank, remember. So what zip codes do you service and you're the market expert? Now here's a resume. This is a generic resume. It's Robert Weichelt, RLW real estate broker, CRS, GRI. Reads like alphabet soup. But if you notice, this resume doesn't speak REO. It doesn't say anything about the REO business. Everybody has these designations. They've done great things with their board. They've got everything they need, but it's nothing that's related to the REO business. Here's what you need to have. You need to have specific REO language in your resume. A lot of times you're not just giving this to somebody, but you're copying, pasting the information on this document to the REO portals when you sign up. Does that make sense? Just nod your head yes. All right. Okay. Now here's what your identity looks like. You need to have an REO, I look at it as a separate company. Like American Realty, well, you'd have American REO Realty, like the Pat Hayes group, Pat Hayes REO team, and let people know that you have that REO, the REO chops, and it's a separate account just for your REO business. And these are just some samples of what I do and what I suggest. Get your own domain, have your own REO specific account just for the REO. Now, here's some of the ideal REO agent. Who's the ideal REO agent? I took this right from a lot of the banks. They'll tell you right there, because you're applying for a job, basically. You're registering on these websites, and they're looking at you going, nah, yep, let's take this guy. Does that make sense? So 5+ years experience, this is what they asked for. 3+ years of REO experience. Now, people that have been in the business less than 10 years don't have any REO experience because we haven't had many REOs to really get experience with. That's where your rev share team and your team comes in. Are you trained and certified as an REO agent? Can you speak REO? What that means, do you understand what cash for keys are, what a rekey is, what an eviction notice, what all of that stuff is? Do you understand BPO? Do you understand the REO business? And of course, the financial resources, EXP with the rev share, that's definitely a great tool to show them, yes, I've got the monthly income coming in, not counting my production. That's a great tool. And you need to know how to implement and follow systems. Now, here's talking about getting business. Who do you get business from? Mortgage lenders. You can reach out to your mortgage companies that you work with. Ask them who handles their foreclosure department. If they have a portfolio type of business, then if they service their own loans, then they're definitely a good contact for you. Servicers are the big key because they're the ones servicing the loan. And when it goes back, they're the ones that are looking for the help to get bailed out. Credit unions, they have stricter guidelines, but still nonetheless great accounts. If you have accounts with credit unions, go meet with them. Talk to them about their foreclosure department. They all have foreclosure departments. They're not busy right now. They're doubling as tellers, a lot of them. Government entities, HUD, huge. Freddie, Fannie, HUD, those three big boys, those are the ones that you want to go in, and big girls, because nowadays you got to make sure we're politically correct, right?
That's right.
Fannie, Freddie, HUD. You need to reach out to those folks. But the asset management companies are going to have most of the business. The asset management companies are going to handle Chase, Wells, B of A, because Chase, Wells, B of A, the big guys, they're not going to sell their own assets. They're going to send those to an asset management company, which I had 44 of them that I was approved with. And half of them were Chase. Chase has a whole bunch of different banks they use. So go find out the asset management companies. And of course, your local bank, whoever you bank with, find out who their asset management company, who their foreclosure department is, if they have one. Because if they do mortgage loans, they are going to have mortgage that maybe aren't going to be paid. So how we doing on time, Pat?
We are doing great. It is 9:36. So yeah, we've got until the top of the hour, till 10 o'clock.
Okay, cool. I'm going to talk about BPOs. BPOs are assigned in many different ways. Notice of default is the one that we're talking about with REO, but there's short sales. There's PMI removal. When people get to an 80% LTV, they can go in and request to get their PMI removed. And a lot of times they'll ask us agents to go out and do a BPO. Of course, the REO assignments, and then there's the second opinion. A lot of times if appraisal comes in and they say, I need a second opinion, they'll ask a BPO agent to go out and do that. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved with that bank. When you're doing that, you're showing them what you're capable of doing, that you bring in a rock star BPO, that you bring in your value, you're bringing in your comps, you're actually know what you're doing, because when the REO comes, that's who they go to. That's your audition to get into the REO business. It's very rarely will you say, oh, you're an agent, great, you got a license, here you go, here's a bunch of listings. Very rarely will that happen. You'll get involved in the system through doing BPOs. The best part, you're getting 50 to 75 bucks per BPO, depending on if it's an exterior or an interior. But the biggest thing is you're getting paid to learn how to work with that bank. Make your BPO shine, do a good job, and this is your way to really stand out. Now, once you get the assignment, you need to do the initial site inspection. You need to determine the occupancy status. That's a tough deal. When you go knock on that door for the first time, like I mentioned, and many times I've had the wife answer the door. Hi, how may I help you? I'm Robert with Weichelt, and your home, unfortunately, here's a cash for keys letter. Your home's been foreclosed on, and they're like, they freak out, and because the husband's back on the couch, forgot to tell his wife that they weren't making their payments. So it's an interesting time. So determine occupancy. A lot of folks that are behind in their payments are probably not, they're kind of ducking the letters, they're not answering the calls. And so there's ways that you need to understand if it's occupied or not, because a lot of times they'll pull the shades, you can't tell if they're there, they park in the garage. Here's what we used to do. We'd put Scotch tape on the garage door, and if that Scotch tape was broken, the next time I went back, that means somebody's going in and out. There's just different ways to find out. You need to report back to the bank within 24 hours. So if you get an assignment, you need to get out there, see if it's occupied right away, and report back. Now, a lot of times you don't know. Talk to some of the neighbors, don't tell them what's going on, but just say, hey, I'm trying to do some information on this house. Have you seen them at all? If it's occupied, you notify your asset manager right away or your eviction coordinator. Negotiate relocation assistance. It's so important to give them relocation money, because what we don't want is the home in tore up condition. We want to be able to give them money to relocate, because sometimes it's a tenant, sometimes they just fell on hard times. It's the way it is. The last REO market found a lot of people that had no business buying homes and multiple homes, so it was a different type of environment. But you need to know how to relocation assistance works. And then you begin, once all that's done, then you begin with your BPO. This right here is an untrained REO agent. I don't know if you've ever, when you first start getting these, I talk to REO agents all the time, people that want to get into the business. And I say, you need to evict. I mean, it's not you evicting them. You don't need to understand the language. You're just basically the messenger. But you need to know that you may have a martial lockout. One of my first properties, the tenants did not want to move. And so the marshal had to come out, the sheriff, and basically said, excuse me, hang tight while we go inside. The guy boarded himself inside the house. So you're going to need to know how to work through that. You're going to need to work through things like they put cement in the toilet. I don't know if they do that in Texas, but I tell you what, they do it in California.
Man, that is crazy.
Yeah. So they put cement in the toilet. They strip the home. They literally take the baseboards. They take everything they possibly can, And cash for keys is what basically the reason why the banks do offer cash for keys is because they want to make sure the integrity of the home is maintained, because that's really their number one goal, is to make sure they have an asset they don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to rehab. Does that make sense?
Right.
So that's my photo. And another thing is utility bills. A lot of times the banks want you to put the utility bills in your name. So I was averaging about 385 active listings, just me, myself. We had 1,000 between my brother, mother, and I. It was ridiculous. And these are all utility bills in our name. So if you don't stay on top of your accounting, it could be a very problem. So that's why I show this slide with this guy eating it on his motorcycle, because that's what it feels like if you don't do it right. And this is the trained REO agent. I like to bring this up because excuse me, my son, when he was 5 years old, wanted to ride a motorcycle. And I said, wow, 5 years old? Okay, well, let's go get him the little 50. And I've never ridden a motorcycle in my life to this point. And so I went out, got him a motorcycle, and I said, well, I can't let you ride alone, son. So I went out and bought the biggest, baddest motorcycle you could get at the time, but I didn't know how to ride it. Like REO, you may not know how to do it right now. It may seem overwhelming right now, but if you get trained and certified and understand how to do it, it could be a very lucrative click funnel, if you will. You know, again, you're not preying on people to foreclose, but you're basically offering your services to the banks that need our expertise. This picture reflects when I first started riding the motorcycle, I didn't know what I was doing. I reached out to a buddy of mine who used to race Supercross. I said, my son just bought a motorcycle. I want to be able to ride with him. I don't want to kill myself. Will you teach me how to ride? For 6 months, I was 35 at the time, maybe. And for 6 months, he taught me how to ride. Like every day at 2 o'clock, I'd go to he had his own track. And I ended up racing. This is me racing at Qualcomm Stadium 6 months after learning how to ride a motorcycle. My point of the story is it may seem overwhelming. It may seem like a lot of work, but if you learn how to do it, it is absolutely a great click funnel, if you will. Again, not wanting people to foreclose, but just get to know it. Here's a fun story I love to share. It's called Thinking Outside the Bus. I went to this property. When I went to inspect to see if it's occupied, I'm driving up the driveway and it's so steep, I felt my car was going to flip back over on its side. So I'm driving up this driveway and I said, that's it. I had to park down to the street because I wasn't comfortable because my car was going to roll down, even with the parking brake, even in park, the whole thing. So I parked down on the street, walked up this hill, and I see this bus. I'm thinking, I can't drive up the property. How did they get this bus up there? Well, I call my asset manager and say, well, the good news is the property is vacant. The sellers have left, but they left everything for you, including a bus. I sent them a picture of this bus. I said, what do you want me to do with it? They said, well, can you have it towed? I said, highly unlikely. I couldn't walk up the driveway, let alone get a tow truck up there. So I called my contractor. He's the guy in the blue shirt there to the left with his hands in his pocket doing what they do best, barking orders, right? He goes, you know what we're going to do? We're going to cut this bus in pieces and we're going to haul it out on a flatbed. And that's what we did. So we have to think outside the bus. We got to come up with solutions for our asset managers. We're their eyes and ears. They're the ones making sure things are getting done, and we're the ones that are making sure it's getting done. Does that make sense? You have to be a resource, just like your sellers, no different. Be a resource. Think outside the bus. I love sharing this story. It brings me, it's just, there's so many fun things you get to see. Just
that is a great story.
Yeah. You're going to need to know a little bit about the eviction process. Don't stress enough because the eviction managers, eviction attorneys handle all of that. We're just a messenger. So don't overthink it like we all like to do. You need to know a little bit about what's going on. But at the end of the day, the eviction managers, the eviction attorneys, they'll all handle, because every state, with whether they have rent control, whether they have whatever their eviction laws are, you don't need to worry yourself for that so much. The banks will handle that. So I like to bring that up. One thing I want people to understand is how important getting into it now is. Don't quit your day job. Don't quit your buyers, your sellers, your investors, your, getting agents, fired up about an amazing company called EXP. Don't forget about all that stuff, but just add to your portfolio. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Spend a couple of hours a week on your REO BPO business, freshening up your REO resume, uploading your information to the REO BPO companies, because they don't know who you are until you tell them. The BPOs, you can make some decent money, but that's your audition. So really, it pays for your gas money, right? The REO listings, the reason why I like REO listings, because some of us have sellers that, if I get my price, I'll sell. But if I don't, I'm not gonna. Remember those sellers? REO sellers don't have that luxury. They need it off their books, period. The average commission, depending on what city you're in, and their average closing time is about 30 days. They get them in, get them out, right? Every listing needs to close. I like REO because right now, if I took an REO assignment today, and let's say it's occupied, well, I've got eviction process, so people know I have a listing coming, but I can't do much with it. And now with all the whole Clear Corporation, all the coming soon stuff going on, you got to be careful. But people know you have inventory coming up, so it's a great way to get it to your investors. Let them know that, because they're reaching out to you. Trust me, when they know that you're the agent, they're going to reach out to you. You get a lot of your buyer agents. You're going to be able to create. We brought our buyer agent team to about 86 agents during the REO market, just because of the influx of buyer calls. And you become the market expert. REO leads equals traditional listings. REO leads equals short sale listings. And when you do a great job for the bank, they take and they spread your name around the industry in a good way, but it also, if you screw it up, they're going to spend it out in a bad way. Asset managers are always talking to their asset manager friends. Hey, who do you like in San Diego? Robert's our go-to guy. Boom. Does that make sense? So we're almost finished. How we doing so far?
Doing great, bud.
Can you understand that there's an opportunity gap? What we need to do is understand that there's a process to get it going. REO, in my opinion, 12, 18, maybe 24 months away, but it will be here. It was here in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and it's rearing its ugly head again. And it's not something we want. It's just something that it is. What you need to do is understand that it is an opportunity, just like anything else. The banks need and deserve top agents helping them sell their assets. They deserve it, and they deserve the best. And that's why they need to work with us. We need to make sure we get out there. We get their REO resume in. We make sure we fill out that registration. I'll be more than happy to walk you through it and let them know you exist. Start doing the BPOs. The REOs will come. It's an amazing production system. It's amazing community. And I'll tell you what, it's a stream of business. Again, the corporate bank needs us. You got to ask yourself this one thing. Are you positioned to receive REO listings? Are you positioned to get those REO listings? And I think you can. I'm going to put my email down. If anybody wants to reach out to me and has any information they want on REO, I have an REO goodies email that I send out. Here's what it is. It's a copy of my resume, so you can get an idea of what it needs to look like. I give you, obviously, our EXP E&O for California is all I have. I don't have other states. But all you do is go to your broker and workplace, go to your stateroom and workplace, and they have your E&O insurance, because every REO company needs the updated E&O insurance. I'll send you a list of BPOs. If you go to, there's a lot of great, in workplace, there's a lot of great groups like REO Connection. There's a lot of great ones in there. Go to them. They have the BPO links. There's a lot of great community. One thing I've noticed about EXP, we are a bunch of givers, man. We just are totally giving.
Yep.
And it's amazing. So I want to do the same thing. I want to be available should you have any questions. Hopefully I didn't blast through that too fast. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today is I know you guys can do it. If you want to do it, it's available, and I'd love to help.
That's awesome, man. Robert, great job there. Great presentation. I love it, man. Thanks for everything that you're doing. And this is being recorded, guys. And so we'll definitely post it in Team Disruptor as well. And then also Is there a way, Robert, can you drop that PowerPoint maybe in Team Disruptor so you don't have to send it out individually via email?
If somebody shows me how to do it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, 35 years in the business, not 35 years old.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I can help you do that as well too. But what do you guys think? Great stuff, huh? Powerful. You know, a lot of agents don't know anything about REO. I really don't know a lot either. You know, I'm not, you know, an expert at short sales or REO. And, you know, just like what Robert said, hey, the time is coming, you know, and you got to be positioned right so you can take advantage of that as well too. So,
yeah, I noticed a couple of questions, Pat. I don't know if you have time, but if
sure.
we got some questions.
You bet. Yeah.
Somebody says, don't overthink it like we all do. I like that. That's the thing we do is we all overthink. Don't. It's super easy.
Yep. Don't overthink.
We have another question. Ian, you know, a mission, BPO through EXP Realty also includes share BPO goodies. Yes, Patricia Clark. We'll go ahead and if you could email me and then I'll respond with all the details. So I don't have to go through and copy and paste everybody's email.
Okay.
Just email me. It's robert@robertweichelt.com. My name's on the screen.
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
Yep.
I am doing BP. I was a short sale expert during the mortgage crisis. I did a boatload of short sales, tons and tons. So that's kind of by the wayside now, but I'm doing BPOs and I'm wondering who you think, what companies are doing, if you're doing BPOs for them, what companies are likely to also assign you REOs, and what are your favorite companies to work with?
Well, I have a list right here. I can even share my screen because I'm a big fan of transparency. Let's see. I'll show you all the BPO companies.
Transparency, a BPO company?
What's that?
I said, is transparency a BPO company?
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually should be the best one. I'm going to give you a list of the ones I like the best. Now, if for those of you that are in REO, you probably heard that Goodman Dean went out of business. They're done. Yeah. They closed their doors. BPO, and talk about my favorite. I love doing BPOs for Goodman Dean because they were just so easy. They didn't send as many REO assignments to BPO ratio that I liked because there's some of them that just BPO to death and then you get no REOs. Altisource is ramping up their system right now.
What did you say is?
Altisource. I'll send you a list of every one of the BPO companies that are hiring. So all you do is email me, robert@robertweichelt.com.
Well, I got set up with Clear Connect and
Clear Capital.
No, Clear Capital I'm already with, and I'm with AVM, but I got set up with Clear Connect, I think.
Okay. Yep.
And they are a clearinghouse for just a ton of BPO companies.
Yep. And that's they do is they come into as a funnel and then they send it out to everyone else.
Right.
A lot of times they'll take your name off the BPO though, so you got to be careful with that. You'll do the work and they'll take your name off. Oh. That means you're basically not auditioning because they don't know who it came from. So just be careful with that. Don't do a lot of free BPOs unless you know that the REOs are going to come from it.
No, I've been told never do it free and never pay for leads on BPOs.
That is correct. Do not, and I would recommend don't go out and pay a bunch of money to sign up for all this REO because everybody starts to get on this REO thing where you will pay me for coaching and pay me for signing up and blah, blah, blah. Don't go out and spend a bunch of money on that. Just sign up for the banks. Let them know you exist. You're a great agent. Send me REO and BPO. Here we go. Move on to the next.
Okay.
That makes sense.
There you go.
Now you will do some free BPOs, but a lot of those, it's, hey, we've got a foreclosure coming. Go out there and do the foreclosure, do the BPO, and then you'll get the listing. So there's a difference. There's the free BPOs and then the fee BPOs. Fee BPOs, you need to really ask the question, is this going to lead to an REO assignment?
Okay.
So I'm an REO agent, not a BPO agent.
All right.
Thank you, Heather, for sending that over. I'll send it over to you right away. I'd like to give a shout out to my buddy, Doug Gillies, who's on, and we want to let Doug know how important it is to join our EXP team. And he's a wonderful friend of mine from San Francisco. So Doug, if you're listening in, brother, I see your comments right here. Sheriffs are large mammals full of body armor.
What is up, Doug? Thanks for joining.
Doug. And Chris, you bleed orange, so I'm good. I'm glad I bleed red, brother. All right. This is fun, man.
Great choice.
Yeah, it was.
What else? Any other questions?
Yeah. What'd you guys think? Did you enjoy it? That was pretty cool. A lot of info, a lot of good stuff, a lot of nuggets. He's the expert. Learn from the expert.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on. I tell you, this is I wouldn't miss this call. A lot of times you'll see I'm one of the first guys on.
Yeah, you are.
Because I get up, I get my coffee, and I don't miss a Pat Hayes Friday. You can't. If you want to succeed, you don't miss this call ever.
I love it, man. Hey, and I can't wait to see you again out there in Cali and have some cocktails again. And
That big wine.
yeah,
That
there you
big
go.
wine we had.
The big one. Oh my God. Well, I got to share that picture with everybody whenever I find it. That was hilarious.
That was good.
That was fun. Fun times. Fun times. Always having fun, right? Just like what Gene Frederick says, EXP is making real estate fun again, and we're having some fun.
I tell you that I've been in the business since, like I told you, but I've been with Remax, great company. I've been with, with Keller, great company. We've owned a Weichelt franchise, fantastic company. But I tell you what, I've also been an independent. I joined EXP in March of 19, and my wife literally to this day says, I've never seen a glow. You glow. You like this business again.
Yeah.
And it's all because of EXP. And I'm not just blowing smoke. It truly is a game changer. It's a life changer. And what you always say is, it's so inspiring, man. I just love listening to you. You're fantastic.
Well, thank you, man. And hey, right back at you. I mean, you're inspiring, and you're fun and full of energy, and I love it. And I love hanging around people like that. And you've got a wealth of knowledge, man. So that's why I wanted to invite you on the call and kind of switch it up a little bit. And I know we talk a lot about agent attraction, and we need to educate our agents as well too. So this is this is a perfect time, and the content was unbelievable. And a lot of agents don't know about REOs and BPOs, and you definitely explained it. And this is being recorded, so I know I'm getting messages right now saying that a lot of agents are going to be watching the recording, and they're going to make their agents watch the recording. And I believe someone else just said that. Rick just said in the chat, I'm going to make our new agents watch the recording of this, Pat. Absolutely. This is key. This is great. Great info, great content, Robert. Thank you so much, Robert. And it's almost the top of the hour. Go get another cup of coffee, use the restroom, and hop on over to leadership. And everybody have a great Friday, great weekend. And we will see you back here next Friday. Thanks, Robert. Have a good weekend, bud.